We have a great show today. We have a longtime customer, Lewis Hawkins, who I know very little about, but I know a lot more after I researched some of the stuff that he's doing, and he does some really interesting art. So we're going to explore his career, his art, his brain. We'll go as deep as we can in the 1 hour that we have. And I have another good friend, Scot Lee, who I met probably 5 years ago through a friend of mine, and he came to, we were just talking about it, came to Songwriter Sunday here and started performing at Artisan, and then I actually even ran into him motorcycle racing down in Albuquerque. So he's got a very interesting life, and he's gonna start us off with a song. So what you got going, Scott?
Right now I'm gonna play Nice to start out with.
You got a broken finger, you gotta play nice, or you got a smashed finger.
Well, sometimes it's inspiring for rock and roll to be all over your guitar, which I'm not gonna do today. This tune is by a contemporary great slide guitar player named Mike Dowling, and this is called Swamp Dog Blues. This is my version.
Nice.
Just slightly different.
Sitting in the Mississippi riverback in Vicksburg and throwing in fishing for catfish.
That's right. With a jug by your side and hope the fish don't bother you.
Nice. That's Scot Lee. We're going to be talking with Scott about how he got into doing the kind of music he's doing and what he's doing with his music. But we have Lewis Hawkins here. Welcome, Lewis.
Well, thank you.
And Lewis has been coming into Artisan how long?
Since it was up on Canyon Road.
Oh, way back in the old days.
So
Okay.
mid-90s, yeah.
Because we've been here 15 years on Cerrillo, so.
Mm-hmm.
And Lewis, I did some research on him, and man, where does your art go? It goes everywhere. I mean, can you talk a little bit about your history? Because I know you oil paint and you pastel, and I saw you're very realistic. You did a lot of good landscapes in oil, and now you've gotten off into a whole nother dimension. So let's explore your history a little bit.
The flip side has always been parallel. It's always existed during the landscapes. It didn't come after the landscapes.
Can you explain what the flip side is?
How the name came about, the gallery that I was with in downtown Washington, D.C., liked the landscapes, which were mostly southwestern landscapes, and I was the only one painting that kind of landscape and presenting it in D.C.
Okay.
So I got a little more attention, less green on green, more color.
Uh-huh.
And I showed him some of the early, what we now call the flip side paintings that I started with, and he liked them, such as the one over my shoulder.
Uh-huh.
But he said, no, I don't want to have a show. We can put them in a flip bin, and the next time you have a show. So I responded with, you've relegated it to the B side.
You're right. Yeah.
Thus the name bflipside.com came about.
So, can I ask you, was the flip side, the style of painting more a passion of yours than the southwestern landscapes? Is this something that evolved?
The difference is when I paint a landscape, plein air, or from one of my photographs, I know where the journey is going to take me.
Right.
I know what the end outcome will pretty much be. And surprises along the way, pleasant surprises. When I start doing one of my sculptures, I start with a single idea, and I have no idea where it's going to go.
Okay.
So it's the difference between a conscious interaction with something in front of you, which
Right.
is most art, or a subconscious, I'm playing with myself inside my brain, kind of what it amounts to, and I'll let whatever comes up next come out.
For those of you that aren't familiar with Lewis Hawkins' art, he does realistic southwestern, or he did. I'm not sure if that's still the direction you're going in, but you
Yeah, I still do plein air, just
plein air oil paintings,
and pastels, because it's just fun.
pastels, and then you did a whole series of very intricate beaded boxes.
They came about because on one of my theaters of the surreal, as I call them, I wanted to do a mosaic effect that you would see in an old subway station in New York City,
Okay.
the older ones. And so I tried a variety of different things to create that effect and ended up with Delica beads. And once I discovered how to do them, I applied it to the piece, which is called Take a Chance, Take a Spin. And I started making boxes after that because I figured out, okay, this is how you do it.
Were the boxes before your 3D theater, they're all going at the same time?
Yes. Over the last 8 years, I haven't made any sculptures, what I call theater of the surreal.
Okay.
I reached a point where it was either finish my house, which I designed and built, starting in '96, or do artwork. It was one or the other.
Okay.
I wanted to finish the house.
You can't live in one of these little boxes.
No.
Yeah, okay.
So,
What is your background? Do you have a traditional art background? Did you go to art school?
Yeah. In 9th grade, we had to do a career paper. What do you want to be when you grow up? And I very pretentiously went up to the teacher and said, well, it doesn't apply to me. I'm an artist. I'm not going to work for you. I'm not going to grow up. So she says, well, that's a problem, but you could be an illustrator, a graphic designer, a commercial artist. You could be a teacher.
Okay, well, hold that thought only because we have to take a break. We're going to explore a little bit more into that.
All right.
You're listening to Art Fusion, the art music radio show, Saturday at noon, Talk 1260 AM, KTRC, and 1037 FM. We're going to have another song from Scot Lee, so hang on, we'll be right back. And we are back. You are listening to Art Fusion, the art music radio show, Saturday at noon, Talk 1260 AM, KTRC, and 103.7 FM, Santa Fe News Talk Leader. I am Ron Whitmore. Just a reminder that we record this at Artisan on Thursdays at 11. And we have a great studio audience today. Make some noise. Yes, it's like the Jerry Springer show, but a little different. Thank you all for coming out, and thank you all for listening to the show. And we have Lewis Hawkins. We were exploring. He does so many different kinds of art. I don't know how we're going to squeeze this into an hour, but we're going to try. But we have another song of Scot Lee. So
thank you. This next tune is a tune by Mississippi Fred McDowell, and it's called "You Gotta Move." And what it gets across is that, you know, we never know when we're going to die, you know, or sometimes we do. But the point is, get all your life in, make it all quality before it does come on. And
you got one shot at this.
You got one shot at this. And this is kind of near and dear to my heart, you know, being the whole motorcycle racer thing.
Yeah.
There's been several occasions where I shouldn't have.
I witnessed several of those. Yes.
And so I think about this song, and it wants me to do something cool every day.
Nice.
This is called "You Gotta Move." To move, you gotta move. You got to move, child, yeah, you gotta move. Cause when the law get ready, you got to move. You might be high, you might be low. You might be young, child, yeah, you might be old. Dare come calling, you got to move. You gotta move, you gotta move. You got to move, child, yeah, you gotta move. When the dare come calling, you gotta move. You see the one who walks the street. You see policemen, yeah, watch the beat. But when the day come calling, you got to move. You gotta move. You gotta move. You got to move, child, yeah, you gotta move. Cause when the day come calling, you got to.
Woo! Gotta move. Gotta move. And I have to laugh because Scott's playing with 4 fingers because he's got one finger all bandaged up, and half the time I ever run into Scott, he's got something broken on him. I mean, I'm just serious. The guy races motorcycles like crazy, and I think he was even racing down, and when I was down in Albuquerque and you had a broken knee and you're still out there, you won. Crazy. Okay, well, very, very cool.
Thank you.
And we were talking with Lewis Hawkins, and on break we were talking, and you taught
taught college for almost 20 years, Maryland College of Art and Design.
Okay. What were you teaching?
Foundation design, all levels of drawing, all levels of painting, a little relief printmaking.
Okay. And your career as a teacher?
What I discovered was in foundation design, which is the key to all art, really, is that if you embrace it and let it happen, you'll be surprised by the outcome, as opposed to trying to control everything and predict the outcome.
Okay.
And that is what the theater of the surreal is about.
For those of you that are on the radio, please take a look at Artisan's Facebook page, because we actually put video, and you can see what Lewis is talking about, because we have 3 3D lighted boxes behind us, a very intricate design, and I don't know how to describe these. How do you describe them?
As a two-dimensional artist who paid a lot of attention to the light when I was painting an oil painting of a landscape, when I would sell it in a gallery, it was out of my control. It would be on somebody's wall, poorly lit. That irked me.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
And so I decided to make works of art that you could put on your mantle, your bookcase, your desk, your bedside, night table, something a little more intimate, something that involves you more personally, and thus the lights that you can turn it off and on. So most of them have multiple switches, so you can change the pattern of lights within that I couldn't do with the painting. Once I painted the shadows, they're there.
These are boxes that are approximately, I'm guessing, 14 by 16 inches. Some of them are smaller. All of them are lit up. They're like diorama. No. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Somebody used that word and I took offense.
Okay.
Because a diorama is telling you a story about a specific thing. Oh, this is how the Neanderthal people lived.
Okay.
That's the reason I came up with the term theater of the surreal.
Theater of the surreal. Okay, I like that.
Thank you. I think it's more applicable. And for example, this piece called The Jockey Lost in the Woods of Blank Check references 2 Rene Magritte paintings I combined into one. And then my love for Andy Goldsworthy is the stone wall in front.
And actually, I peeked behind the wall. There's stuff going on behind the wall that you don't, unless you probably own the piece or you come close, you wouldn't know there's stuff going on behind that wall.
I like to hide stuff, admittedly. If you took apart my house, you'd find things written on rafters.
Nice. And is this was a body of work? Do you show these at the gallery, or
No,
or how do you?
I've never shown them.
Okay,
No.
well, I was wondering about that, because these aren't like, very usual pieces. These are kind of out there.
Arlene Llewellyn came and saw my works in the late 90s, the earlier part of these, and wanted to do a show right away. And we were talking about doing a show. I liked her very much. I really respected Arlene. And unfortunately, she died of a brain aneurysm. And whoever took over, I was not interested. I have to have a connection with that person, or it's not going to happen. And I have a hard time with galleries taking 50% of what I make.
So you don't market? Do you market your oil paint still through galleries, or how do you?
No, I haven't tried since I moved out here.
Okay.
Really, I would prefer to have a show at a college art gallery or down at the Museum of Fine Arts. Arlene was not interested in showing the paintings. She was only interested in showing the theaters.
Okay.
I want to show the evolution of this idea, which spans well over 30 years.
The evolution of your work, which progressed from oil painting. You have a whole pastel series, and then you went abstract into washing watercolor too. Is this a progression of your life?
No, I could say I just get bored with doing the same thing all the time.
Well, obviously, a lot of times galleries dictate artists to stay in the same genre.
Yes.
We need to take a break. We're talking with Lewis Hawkins. We'll be right back. You're listening to Art Fusion, the art music radio show, Saturday at noon, Talk 1260 AM KTRC and 103.7 FM. Hang on. We were talking with Lewis Hawkins about, what were we talking about? We were talking about all these different forms of art that he has expressed himself in, which is everything from landscapes and oil, pastel. I was looking at a whole series of abstracts and gouache and watercolor. And then we have the theater of the surreal to beaded boxes. I got to tell you personally, I admire artists that don't stay in any certain box, that allow themselves to expand and continue to grow.
Thank you.
Artists, visual artists, or musicians in the same way. So we're going to explore a little bit more with Lewis, but we have Scot Lee sitting here, and Scott, welcome.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
And you know, I know you as a motorcycle racer. I know you from coming into our Songwriter Sunday back then and some of the songwriting, but as far as your music, I know very little about your music. What started, did you start it?
Well, music was one of the most important things in my life when I was very young.
Did you grow up here?
I grew up in Southern California,
Okay.
in Orange, California. And playing records by the time I was 5 or 6 was like my getaway.
Uh-huh.
I kind of don't really talk well to people and like to be in the
So
shadows.
you just escaped into
Yeah.
yeah.
And you know, my first album was Black Sabbath, Master of Reality, so I was kind of, that's the way things went.
Nice.
And but I discovered, or I didn't discover, I just found that I liked different types of music. I was listening to a lot of big band, you know, like when I was 10
Really?
or 12, right?
Okay.
Next to my Black Sabbath and Deep Purple albums.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of always been that way.
And then how did you learn to play guitar?
I just picked up a guitar. My earliest childhood fantasy wasn't about women, it was about playing music.
Really?
And it's a little personal now, isn't it? I started playing guitar maybe in my 30s, a late bloomer.
Uh-huh.
And just kind of stayed in the woodshed or in the closet, and we were talking about that, and I noodled on guitar off and on for quite a long time. And at some point, I decided to try and play live, which is when I came here to try and play this type of music.
We used to run a Songwriter Sunday for about 5 years at Artisan, where people could come in and the first Sunday of every month and just play original songs or play whatever was on their heart. And I think for a lot of people, it was just an opportunity to get in front of people, which is hard to do, you know, when you're a musician.
It was a great springboard for me. I was saying earlier off air that, you know, doing the whole motorcycle thing and stuntman thing, and you know, I've done a lot of really crazy things. And that day, the first time I played in front of a very small, nice group like this, was one of the most terrifying things I've ever done in my life.
Wow.
But things have gotten slightly better because I've been playing a little bit more.
So what are you doing? Derek was telling me that are you down in Espanola doing songwriter things, or are you playing with the band, or where's your music going?
Both. Doing the solo thing, I'm doing what we call, you know, Songwriter Sunday, or our version of that, open mic. I open for some people. I am in a rock and roll band, a hard rock band. My friend Marilyn likes to call it a metal band.
Nice.
And I play bass in that.
Okay.
And that's a huge amount of fun. Another late starter thing. I joined my first band at the tender age of 55. Just started performing live at the tender age of 57. And so that's where my music is right now, and really enjoying it. And
Where you guys want to take it? You guys are you playing out, or you want to get to playing out? You want to start doing clubs? Or
we are playing out. We've been playing clubs since the beginning for a couple of years. We played in Albuquerque. We played up at Taos Mesa Brewery. We're playing in Espanola on the 4th, Cinco de Cuatro. And having a rock and roll band, I get to be the opening act, which is very
How cool is that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very convenient.
What is the name of your band?
The name of my band is called Skerick, S-K-E-R-I-C-K, R-R-I-C-K. And it's all originals. It's fast, high energy rock and roll.
And okay, high energy rock and roll.
Yes.
And you're playing kind of blues, kind of Delta blues here.
Right.
So, what's the deal?
Well, the deal is that, like you said, you know, it's to be confined into one genre is just boring.
Yeah.
And I've always loved the blues. That's primarily what I play when I'm playing on my electric guitar, but it's a little more ruckus than this kind of stuff. And I really enjoyed getting to the beginning of blues and figuring that out. And then I found resonator guitars and slide guitar. And you know, slide guitar was always one of those things that seemed to be out of reach.
Yeah.
You know, it was like the first time I made beer, I was just like, holy cow, I can just make it instead of it just magically appeared in the liquor store to me, you know, a stork brought it. And then I kind of got obsessed with playing slide guitar. And the band, I was just called to come in, since I'm a guitar player, they needed a bass player.
Yeah.
So
They have a couple guitar players in the band?
We're a three-piece, so we have one guitar player.
Okay.
So fortunately, the role of the bass player has to be very dense and full, so I get to really rock out when I'm doing that.
Nice.
And trying to be a bass player, not just a guitar player who's playing bass, is another thing. It's a different role than a guitar player for sure.
I think people that aren't musicians don't realize that there's a real similarity. I mean, I can see a similarity between your motorcycle. I used to race motorcycles too. I was desert racing and still ride all the time. I think musicians have kind of this adrenaline rush, you know. It's like you got to get your rush, and getting on stage is one way to get a rush.
Absolutely.
Motorcycle racing, smashing your finger doing something. What happened there?
I was well. The short of it is I smashed it in between a very sharp piece of metal and like a 3-pound sledgehammer, and I ripped off a very large piece of skin that you could throw on the grill and put it on a bun.
Well, I have to say I admire you for not canceling coming down to playing on the radio because you have a smashed finger. That just shows the kind of, because I remember down in Albuquerque you had a broken knee and you won the motorcycle race and you were racing that, and it's just like, you know, there's a lot of people that look for excuses of not doing something. You can always find an excuse not to do something if you look hard enough. But if you really want to do something, you can always find that you can do it. So
Absolutely. I mean, I've had a lifetime of having to do things when situations aren't optimal.
What brought you down here from Southern Cal?
My future ex-wife.
Okay. And how are you liking it? I mean, this is a big change from Southern Cal.
Well, I moved here in 1993, and I just adore New Mexico. I don't have any plans, probably will never make any place else in the world my home base. We never had any kids. We lived up in Alcalde, which is just north of Espanola. And when we split, I moved to Espanola. And I didn't want to go anywhere. I could have went to Belize. I could have went to Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
But I stayed in Espanola. And I really love Espanola as a town, the people there, and New Mexico as a whole. And as you know, New Mexico offers a lot of riding opportunity.
And I think the good thing about being a musician, and I've said this before in New Mexico, is there's places like Nashville and Austin that are competitive and everybody's trying to outdo the other one, but it seems like here there's a sense of cooperation. Do you find that with visual art too, Lewis? Or?
No, you're asking the wrong person.
Okay. Well, let me just say, for musicians, it seems like everybody's supporting everybody, and usually when you're playing out, half the people in the audience might be other musicians that are turning out just supporting you and to hear what you're doing and stuff. And
it really is, and that to me is a good thing and a very scary thing. But yeah, we have a very rich pool of musicians. Espanola has an incredible pool of musicians.
Yeah.
The open mics and all that are very busy and very talented people as well.
What is that open mic just that you were talking about? Where did they do that at?
Currently, they're doing it at the Eagles, which is a fraternal order of Eagles, and it used to be at Blue Heron Brewing. And you sign up, you come in, and you do 3 or 4 songs. You got like a 20-minute set.
Okay.
And you come in and rock out. And
Well, I encourage any closet musicians that haven't gotten out and performed with somebody to at least go to an open mic and start getting out, because that's what got Scott going and got him into his band. You're listening to Art Fusion, the art music radio show, Saturday at noon, Talk 1260 AM, KTRC, and 103.7 FM. We were talking with Scot Lee. We have Lewis Hawkins here. We'll be right back. Hang on. And we are back. You're listening to Art Fusion, the art music radio show, Saturday at noon, Talk 1260 AM, KTRC, and 103.7 FM, Santa Fe News Talk Leader. We were talking with Scot Lee about his music and how he later in life learned to play guitar and learned to get out and got the enjoyment of music, got in a band, having a fun time playing rock and roll and metal music. And you know, for those of you that are always have that artistic or that musical cry inside you, realize that it's not a time thing. That thing can get released at any age, and it's just taking the first step. And I think getting in front of somebody, or like Lewis saying, start making something, you know, getting a foundation, starts something to build on. So, and we were talking on break with Lewis, because, you know, Scott, in a band or with music and whatever, you interact with other people a lot, and especially in a band. I mean, it's a co-creative experience. It's a little different being an artist. Huh? You
180 degrees different.
Yeah. So would you say your personality is
Introverted?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And your art, I mean, like, you don't even get into the gallery scene and do that anymore. You got out of that.
I have a website, bflipside.com.
bflipside.com. So anybody that's listening and wants to look at your art or purchase art, bflipside.com. And you sell directly.
And they can contact me, and I will not add that gallery fee on. So
we're having a 50% sale right now. bflipside.com. And are you selling your Southwestern oil painting? Where are you now? I mean, what do you got?
Nothing. Because I haven't really been trying, admittedly. Back east, when I was represented in the gallery there, I sold. I haven't worked in the Smithsonian. I have works in a lot of big offices in the DC area.
Well, you know, that brings a really important point that we talk about at Artisan too, because not every musician wants to play out. Some musicians are studio musicians, or they're just composing music on their own. It's for their own soul, and they have no desire to play out. And I think I've run into a lot of artists that are that way too. That they're just creating they have to create, and that's who they are. And it sounds that it's kind of more where you are.
More where I am. Like I said, I would like to have a show at like a college art gallery.
Someplace that would appreciate what has gone into it.
Where I could even have be a part of the school for a week, give a lecture, be a part of a critique, that kind of thing. I would enjoy that, even though it's been a long time. I feel like it's still there.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about you spent 20 years as a teacher, and I can totally relate, because I've been in retail 31 years, and my office sits down at Artisan, but I also skate too. I mean, on the weekends we have a remote cabin, and I'm away from everybody because I'm in a retail bubble all week, and I need both sides. I need to escape too. Where do you see your art going? Yeah. What interests you now? When you have time, what are you doing?
I started a new Flipside Theater of the Surreal, which surprised me. It's been 8 years.
Okay.
Did finish my house.
That's one up on me.
24 years in the making.
Really?
Yes.
Was that an artistic adventure too? In your house?
Yes. Just like creating my art. I have an idea. I don't know how to do it. I'll figure it out as I go along. I'd never built a house before. Now I've built a house. So it's the largest sculpture I've made to date.
Yeah. Are there hidden things in, like
I said, in the rafters or in the walls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're hidden things.
Well, I think that's the cool thing about being an artist too, is like you present something on some level, and the viewer perceives it on a different level. And they're you know, I didn't know until I looked behind that stone wall in one of these 3D surreal that there's other stuff in it. And I mean, you got to look deeper.
If you look at the Four Seasons Hotel each room represents one of the four seasons. And there's something going on inside each one of those rooms that reflects that season.
Uh-huh.
But you gotta get up close and take a look, otherwise you'll miss it.
And you got to be open to it. You can't. Yeah. You got to be able to receive it.
And I do reference a lot of art, especially Rene Magritte, my favorite surrealist. I think the thinking man surrealist. And I do reference him often, as you see in this piece here, The Jockey Lost in the Woods of Blank Check.
Okay.
That's two Magritte paintings joined together into one.
Nice.
In the Four Seasons Hotel, there is one of the rooms references his painting Golconde, where all the bowler hat guys are floating in air in front of buildings.
Uh-huh.
That's happening in one of those rooms.
Well, I would really encourage people to take a look at your artwork. bflipside.com?
Yes.
Okay. Please look at Lewis Hawkins, because you've never seen anything like this, from the wide range of paintings, pastels, abstract, watercolors, to beaded boxes, to the surreal, 3D surreal theaters.
Theater because they have the kinetic ability to be lit up.
Yeah, okay.
And that's what gives them a theatrical quality, if you will, and not just a diorama. And then if somebody asks me, what is it about? The response is, you have to tell me.
Well, thank you for coming out of your solitude and sharing a deep side of you. I appreciate that.
Well, thank
I think
you
a
for
lot of
having
people
me.
do.
Yeah, thank you.
And Scott, we have time. We have Scot Lee here sitting with his guitar and his bandaged finger, and we have time for one more song. What do you got going on?
Excellent, excellent. Well, this has been really fun. I really appreciate you having me out here, and there's been some really incredible musicians here, and I feel honored.
Thank you, Scott.
I'm actually a really good friend of the Llewellyns myself. I was at
Yes, I
my
noticed
friend
the bracelet.
Laura's on Sunday.
Yeah.
This song is called Rollin' and Tumblin'. This is an old standard, and was made famous by the Stones. They recorded it in 1971 on their album Sticky Fingers. And again, this song means something to me because, you know, as a motorcycle racer, we roll and tumble a lot and
Yep.
cry all
Yeah.
night long. So that's what this is.
Scot Lee.
Well, I'm rolling and tumbling and crying all night long. Well, I'm rolling and tumbling and crying all night long. When I woke up this morning, didn't know right from wrong. Well, I told that woman before I left this town. Well, I told that woman before I left this town. Won't you let nobody burn my bell house down? Well, I'm rolling, tumbling, I'm crying all night long. Well, I'm rolling, tumbling, I'm crying the whole night long. When I woke up this morning, didn't know right from wrong. If the river was whiskey and I was a diving love. If the river was IPA, little modern reference there. And I was a diving love. bottle. I swear I never come home.
Woo! Scot Lee. Next week we have Poteet Victory as our visual artist, and Julie Cunningham and Larry Diaz going to come rock it out here. Thank you, Lewis Hawkins, for coming out of your solitude and sharing your artistic side.
Thanks.
You're listening to Art Fusion, the art music radio show, Saturday at noon, Talk 1260 AM KTRC and 103.7 FM. We'll be back next week.